brought to you today by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore.
Everyday living, we make it worthwhile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! From kitchen to bathroom, a whole heap of tile. Home and Things for everyday living. Nice up your home, fix up every room. Shop every day, shop real value. Pictures and prosthetics to catch your eye. We have the options, we have the style. Everyday living, so versatile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! Lowest price guarantee on everything you see. Home and Things for everyday living.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on live on Love 101 FM YouTube and Facebook Live in the main and second watches today. Protecting our children.
Stokeley? Oh, I think, where did he go? Right, well, in the first and second watches today, we're looking at protecting children from murder, rape, incest, and other crimes. This morning's side quote: "There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children." Nelson Mandela. Take a break. When we come back, Stokeley and his guests will join us soon. Come. Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here's somewhere you can share it. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
There are a million reasons to want to own a home.
I want more space for the children.
I am tired of paying rent.
My wife and I want an investment.
Go from future plans to keys in hand with an NCB mortgage. Get rates as low as 6.95%, 100% financing, and up to 40 years to repay. Plus, get the life insurance and home insurance you need all in one place. Visit myhome.jncb.com to get started. Conditions apply.
Everyday living, we make it worthwhile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! From kitchen to bathroom, a whole heap of tile. Home and Things for everyday living. Nice up your home, fix up every room. Shop every day, shop real value. Pictures and prosthetics to catch your eye. We have the options, we have the style. Everyday living, so versatile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! Lowest price guarantee on everything you see. Home and Things for everyday living.
Squeeze the flavor.
Squeeze spicy.
Squeeze out the juice drink, my favorite fruit drink. I'm only choosing what makes me tune in. That squeeze, yeah, buckle or box please. Yeah, popular on street, yeah, apple or a peach.
Wow.
Squeeze out the real thing with the lunch or your dinner, what a punch it up in abundance for the winner. Let's go. That squeeze, the buckle of them away. Line made, me rocking that in the shade. I make your pass for me. Squeeze. Don't ramp with me. Squeeze. Come on for me. Squeeze. I'm a love for me. Squeeze. Like my strawberry. Squeeze. I'm a appleberry. Let's go. Release the flavor. Let's go. Release the flavor.
Last week, we explored the realities and effects of the dysfunctional family. So we know that when the family is at risk, the country is at risk. How do we get the family back on track? Host Pastor Harry Steve Blair and guests Reverend Dr. David Hazel and Bishop Cleon Grandison will delve into part 2 of the topic, dysfunctional families, during The Rock, Tuesday, May 11 at 10 a.m. right here on the Family Station Love 101.
Hello and welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We do apologize for any technical glitches that had occurred earlier on. We're looking at the matter of our children, and if our children aren't going missing, they are turning up dead, sometimes molested. And that, unfortunately, is the very cold, hard, sad, and angering, very angering set of circumstances. The only good thing out of this, it would appear, is that these incidents, it would seem, are being reported more now than they were before. Yeah. Now, some persons are being made to account for what they are doing, but is enough being done to stop these things from happening? It appears as if there is just one too many incidents of rape, murder, incest, and other crimes. What really happens after the fact? We have online this morning to discuss this very delicate and grave subject, Mr. Robert Williams of the South, he is Southeast Regional Director of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA. We also have Pastor Dexter Johnson. He is the National Director of the Jamaica Youth for Christ. And we also have Mrs. Betty Ann Lane of Hear the Children's Cry. Gentlemen and lady, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stokeley.
Good morning to you all. Mr. Williams, are you with us?
Yes, I said good morning. You're not hearing me?
Great having you. Pastor Johnson? We probably don't have Pastor Johnson as yet. We will check on that in a moment. Mrs. Blaine, it has been too long. Where have you been all this time, madam?
I've been right here and pressing on, working hard, Stokeley, as always.
Okay, all right. Always a pleasure having you. You know, I'm going to start.
It's a pleasure to be here, and good morning to all of your listeners. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Williams. And Mr. Williams, we are so grateful that you're with us this morning on the Morning Watch. Thank you for sparing the time, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. Generally speaking, sir, would you like to just enlighten the public as to what it really means for a child to have rights? What are some of these rights? Because when we hear of the atrocities happening to some of these children, some persons may be asking, you know, what is there to protect a child? Would you like to just give us a quick summary of what are some of these rights that children have, sir?
All right. Thanks again. So, some of our listeners, or many of them, will know that we have human rights. Yes. But because children are a very special group of persons, meaning they are very valuable to us, and because we know how people sometimes view children, and there was a traditional view where children were treated less than being human sometimes, the Convention on the Rights of the Child came into being, where rights for children were segmented, were pulled apart, and given a little bit more attention and credence because of what was happening to our children. But generally speaking, there are many rights. There are many rights that children that categorize how we treat children. But it's always simple to divide those rights into four main areas. So we talk about survival rights. Yes, and these may be inalienable rights to adults as well. So the child have a right to survive, to life, and basic things should be provided for a child because you are a child. So food, clothing, shelter, yes, the right to live. And that is why we have a lot of effort being placed on medical infancy by UNICEF and so on, to clean water, and to ensure that the environment is safe so that the children can live, so we can reduce infant mortality rate, because we want our children to survive. So a lot of attention is placed on these things. So that those rights we call survival rights. The child must live to grow into an adult. And we had a time when too many children were dying. Then we talk about developmental rights. So a child have a right to a name, yes, a nationality, the ought to belong. And so the child have a right to health care. So if the child is ill, then the adults around, the person who deal with children ought to ensure, parents and everybody, that the child gets medical attention. Yes, the child, as we talk about education, the child has a right to go to school. And so the laws of the country, so the law says that any child, anybody, any person having a child who have not attained the age of 16 ought to be in school, and that's a fact. So the child have a right to develop and grow. So we call that developmental rights. So those are two of the basic categories. And then we have protection rights. The child have a right to be protected by all of us from all forms of abuse. And that is just a summary. I'm just summing up the thing in four areas. So we, parents, guardians, adults, we have a right to protect the children because they are vulnerable, because they are young, and because they need us to help them. So we have the protection rights, and then participatory rights. The children have a right to participate in decisions that affect them. We can't all be just making decisions for the children. Sometimes it's not even what the children, not in the best interest of the children, and we are making the decisions sometimes for them without even consulting. So the four categories: survival rights, developmental rights, protection rights, and participatory rights. For easy way our listeners can understand how these rights are consolidated. And we have our duty, and the government through the CPFSA, the Children's Advocate, to ensure, Betty and Blaine and all of these people, to ensure that the children are given the attention and we can protect and safeguard their development, because otherwise we won't have a future that is safe.
You know, Mr. Williams, I'm not saying you are doing this, but when you mention that there's a traditional view of how children should be treated, it may give some people the impression that that tradition is a biblical tradition that should be rejected. But I'm reminded that in the King James Version of the Bible, Ephesians 6 verse 4, it reads, "And ye fathers provoke not your children to wrath,
yes,
bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord." So there is a very high duty to protect children in the very same Bible that some people think is traditional, but I digress. Betty and Blaine, any comments before we head to the break? Because we just heard Mr. Williams enunciate all the rights that children have. Any comments before we head to break, Mrs. Blaine?
Okay, thanks, Stokeley. Well, first of all, I just want to say to all of our children, Happy Child Month. This is Child Month, and despite everything going on, COVID plus the abuses against the children. I want our children to know that we love them, we care for them. Thank you, Robert, for explaining what the rights are. So here is what we need to do as a country. Every Jamaican must know about these rights, not just us as advocates and so on, but every parent, every family member, every citizen. So if we could find a way, Stokeley, to consolidate these rights, bring them down to, I don't know, maybe we can summarize them to a few very important rights that all of us will know. So if we can find a way to provide kind of public education, to put those rights out, those rights for children, I think it may make a difference.
We're on a break, Mrs. Blaine. We're going to continue when we return. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Banana Board is
7:15 and a half.
Jamaica! The JCDC is now accepting entries for its 2021 competitions, and this year we have gone fully virtual. Entries are now open for the following competitions: Jamaica Festival Song, Jamaica Gospel Song, Miss Jamaica Festival Queen, Culinary Arts, Speech, Music, Drama and Theatre, Creative Writing, and Visual Arts. Visit the JCDC website at www.jcdc.gov.jm to register your complete entries. If you don't have internet access or you have a disability or any other challenge, please call or visit your parish office for assistance. See the JCDC website for competition guidelines. What are you waiting for? Sign up now and follow your dreams. The JCDC, the place where stars are born.
Okay, love, make a list. For the fritters, we're gonna need to buy saltfish. Okay, flour. Got it. Scotch bonnet. Yep. What about eggs? You're right. We do need some liquid self-contained investment packages that appreciate over time until a breakpoint results in delicious dividends. You writing this down?
When you use InvestorCore, you start to think like a stockbroker. Visit InvestorCoreJamaica.com to learn how. Powered by Sagicor Investments.
Last week, we explored the realities and effects of the dysfunctional family. So we know that when the family is at risk, the country is at risk. How do we get the family back on track? Host Pastor Harris Steve Blair and guests Reverend Dr. David Hazel and Bishop Cleon Grandison will delve into part 2 of the topic, dysfunctional families, during The Rock, Tuesday, May 11 at 10 a.m. right here on the Family Station Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and in fact, in the main and second watches today, our topic is protecting children from murder, rape, incest, and other crimes. Our guests are Robert Williams, Southeast Regional Director, Child Protection Family Services Agency, CPFSA, Mrs. Betty Ann Blaine of Hear the Children's Cry, and we should also be having Pastor Dexter Johnson, National Director of Jamaica Youth for Christ, who we hope is now on. Mr. Williams, you had outlined some things to us earlier in terms of the rights of the child. Mrs. Blaine, you are elaborating in relation to maybe we need to shrink these rights into a summarized form so the average person can sort of recall quickly what these rights are. Do you want to continue on that point, please? Mrs. Blaine?
Yeah, I was saying, Stokeley, look, we want to be able to make it easy for public consumption, that people will digest it, ingest it, and understand how important these rights are for children. There are a lot of them, but if we could take perhaps the most important ones and then begin to publicize that, if we could run a public education campaign, if churches, for example, would just summarize some of those rights and make it available to church members. If you could do it right here on your show, Stokeley, if we could begin to just every day perhaps talk about one or two of those rights and do it regularly so that people will begin to understand how important children's rights are, what they are, and then we begin to live by them. That's the important point. There's no point in reciting what the rights are if we're not going to practice them and live by them. And the other important point is that the children themselves must know what their rights are. Many of them don't. They don't. And so if we can perhaps and I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you, that perhaps the Ministry of Education at some point, maybe after COVID, I don't know, could perhaps list those rights on the cover of the books that children use, the cover of their books. Put a cover on it, and inside the cover you list the rights, some of those critical rights, so that children themselves know and understand what their rights are and they can defend themselves. Because one of the rights children have, and Robert mentioned it when he talked about participation or participatory rights, is that they have a voice. Children have a voice. They have opinions. So those are some of those rights, and they can fight for themselves too, And so, but they must know what those rights are.
Understood. Mr. Williams.
Yes, I'm right here.
Yes. Now, you, more than anyone else, you know the various atrocities and all the various, harmful things happening to children in society. I mean, there are just one too many incidences of sexual violence against children, serious bodily harm, and even death that children end up, that meet with our children, because there seems to be a perpetual continued breakdown in family life in Jamaica and just so many other ills. At the CPFSA, sir, is it that you sort of more focus on how to, elevate the status of children, making their lives better, or do you sort of delve into some of the causation or the causative things that lead to these things happening to children? What would you say are some of the things that lead to some of these horrible things that occur to children?
Okay, thanks again, Stokeley. And you see, there are so many things that we're saying on this program, but let me say that for us at CPFSA, we deal with three kinds of intervention. So we talk about primary, secondary, and tertiary. So the primary prevention, because we are aware that there are predators out there, that persons will hurt and harm our children, we seek to do public education, a lot of this, yes? So we seek to go out in communities. We seek to do town hall meetings. This Blaine said, public campaign by putting out brochure. We go to schools. We go to PTAs. We go to service clubs. Even back to back this week, I was on the road to work on a Baptist church in Kingston, talking about trying to educate persons as what is it that we are to expect, what is it we can do. So the prevention is very important.
I'm going to ask to pause 1 second, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
When you go out into the public,
yes,
interface with persons to do the public education,
yes,
in those interventions and interfaces,
yes,
you get a sense from the members of the public as to what are some of the things causing these things to happen to the children.
So they would.
What do they say to you?
A lot of people are reluctant to talk about causation and what is causing, but let us not bury our heads in the sand. Jamaica, as we realize that we have gone into a mode of moral decay. We have gone into a mode of violence. Over time, we have been exposed to a lot of things that we wouldn't hold as values. So for me, what happened to the children is a reflection of what has happened in society, and we have to call it for what it is. The society has gone into a state of anything goes and anything happens. People just disregard what the values that we had and what we were taught, and we see that every day. And I think on here we will all agree that we are not at the place that perhaps our great-grandmothers would want us to be. But guess what? Because our children are weak, because they are vulnerable, because they cannot defend themselves so well against persons in our society who are bent on causing these things, then the children are attacked. So the causation for me is because of the general state of where we are morally and where our values are. Whatever we can do to fix that is where we need to, because you say, why somebody would rape a child? I look on the front page of the Glen this morning, a young girl was stabbed and killed. It was on the front page by a young man who is like 21 and she's 14. We see what happened in St. Anne recently. We see what happened in all of these communities, and we're saying, why is it that we have a new set of people who are just going around looking for children? I am saying too many of our people, too many of our men, too many of our men in this country are at a place where they disregard basic human rights, value of people, and what is it that we uphold as a nation. If we say we can just take a child and rape and chop up and cut off neck, and a child in their own community walk to buy stuff from food and somebody feel that they must rape, it means that we have no value for human life, no value for morals, no, we have those that has left us, and because of that we are in this state. So for me, causation is because the society has broken down.
We have online Mr. Dexter Johnson, and for those of you who don't know, Pastor Dexter Johnson, in fact, he is the National Director of Jamaica Youth for Christ. Good morning, Pastor Johnson.
Bless you. Good morning.
Now, you play a very key role because you interface with the youth, and some of these youth might be children, or these are people who interface with persons younger than themselves. Sir, we have been trying to analyze what is causing a lot of the ills that our children are experiencing. The violence, even death, violent death, murder, and sexual violence, incest, and so on. What would you say, sir, are some of the things that are causing this? Forgive us for delving so much into this, but we're in Child Month, and we don't want to just have a discussion because it is Child Month. We want to see if we can find some genuine, realistic, and practical solutions. Pastor Johnson?
Yeah, bless you. And without doubt, what is causing these problems have to start where it matters. And since we have heard everything about the rights of the child and that they all have rights, but I believe that together as adults we would have failed generation after generation, and even more so, we are left with a set of children that no longer is grown in the fear and knowledge of God. So what has happened, I put it this way, we are in a world that has gone mad and has gone crazy. That there was a time when it was clear that it was the village that raised the child. Now we are in a situation where each man become an island and seemingly is standing on their own. So that looking after our kids, where is that Jamaica, where our children would never be hurt, would never be abused? If any such news came, it would be an outrage. And what we are therefore doing in our ministry is saying to young people who have just stepped over as that threshold of being a child, we are saying, you need to help to save the next generation. How are we going to do that? We will have to be their protector. We need to understand that we have that right to protect them and watch over them. We have to get to that place where we are no longer saying, it's not my business. We want to be saying every child and every issue with every child is our business. We have this responsibility, and even more so as Christian, as guardian, God gave them to us. and we have this God-given responsibility to watch over them. So when we want to see what is happening, who is it that is abusing our children? Who is it that is molesting them and just taking them on different rampage? We need to look at that. It's men and women that have left their fear for God Almighty and just doesn't care when it's okay for a 5-year-old to be buggery and a 13-year-old and these things to be happening. We have to stop and say, we have a nation that has gone crazy and has left their first love. What am I saying? We need to get back where it matters. We need to get back to a Jamaica where our children, it didn't matter if they had Christian parents, they were grown in Sunday school. What that meant is that they had an environment that was helping to teach and train their mind. So when they become adults, they don't become abusers. We have too many children that is raised only by the television and what social media is saying. And we have to get back to that place where we realize that as a church, as Christian, we have a God-given responsibility to help to make the difference. So when we teach them the godly thing, then we want to teach them their rights so they too can cry out and seek protection.
We are upon the break. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch. Please stay with us, listeners, and of course, our guests.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:31.
Make I tell you about short-term motor insurance from JNGI. You choose what you need, 30, 60, 90 days policy. No long commitment, full third party. Don't park your car, don't walk, get a shotty. So affordable and it's not per nation market. JNGI shotty. Country party, we have a shotty. Just insure your vehicle and start it. Roll out with a shotty. Shotty, the short-term motor insurance from JN General Insurance. Available only online.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
We working on a brighter day, you not have to fret. You know your family secure, you not need no stress. It's like you run a 5K, set the pace, win the race, celebrate, and you still never bust no sweat. We see we brother and we sister, this is how we heal them. Easy now, you and Guardian Life, it's a nation we're building. Many hearts, but we all want the same thing. Live secure and live easy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall, attorney at law, and we are looking now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. We have the Jamaica Observer, 2 gunmen cut down in midday street battle with police. Another story here, Western Jamaica schools report good resumption of face-to-face classes. We now turn to the Gleaner. Jungle Justice rebuke. This story by Nadine Wilson Harris of the Gleaner. It reads as follows. I'll read a bit of it. In his first public comment on the controversial endorsement of vigilante justice by Senator Lambert Brown, or so it was indicated, opposition leader Mark Golden has rejected that declaration but sought diplomatic cover by saying the People's National Party aligned lawmaker was entitled to his personal opinions. We also have on the front page of the Gleaner, vendors weep over champs' losses. That story by Janet Silveria and Janelle Daly of the Gleaner. Western Bureau, as hundreds of athletes vie for medals in the first staging of the boys and girls champs in the COVID-19 era, mega businesses and small traders alike are already counting their losses from the empty stand that will ring hollow in the Coliseum of emerging stars. Another story here on the front page. The Gleaner lover slays 14-year-old. 14-year-old. Stepdad says he tried to end relationship. We are really coming to a low point in this country. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, what are you doing to help protect our children from rape, incest, and murder? If you haven't done so as yet, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube or Love 101 FM Jamaica Live or WhatsApp comment and voice note to 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here is somewhere you can share it, and maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Welcome back. You're tuned into the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Siobhan for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. What are you doing to help protect our children from rape, incest, and murder? Siobhan, any comments?
Well, some comments based on the discussion. This one says, Jennifer on Facebook says, because a lot of parents believe that children don't have a voice, the first thing you hear, they are children and they don't know what they want. She adds, parents need to listen when a child wants to talk and don't shut them down. All right. Elaine Williams says, I just came on, but all of this has to begin at the top. Why is the Prime Minister paying US $18 million per year and he's supposed to be helping the country to, where did it go? Helping the country. Okay, where did the comment go? It disappeared on me a while ago. Okay, right. Helping the country to solve the crimes, and the only thing you see is that he's having fun on the dance floor with the rich people. Okay, then that's her comment, right? Let me see what this one says on WhatsApp. Another way children rights could be implemented is through the curriculum. All right, keep the conversation going, folks, on Facebook, YouTube, and on the WhatsApp line 876-997-3125. Stokely?
Well, we have been discussing protecting children from murder, rape, incest, and other crimes. And our guest today, Mr. Robert Williams, Southeast Regional Director, Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA. Pastor Dexter Johnson, National Director, Jamaica Youth for Christ, YFC. Betty Ann Blaine, Hear the Children's Cry. Now, gentlemen and lady, we have been hearing the discussion. We have been looking at this whole matter, and it seems to be not getting any better. Pastor Johnson, you, in a very impassioned way just before the break, you spoke to how we need to ensure that we, in fact, protect our children from the various atrocities that they are being met with. But what about the role of mothers and fathers in the mix? you notice that one of the listeners in commenting said we need to listen to the children. What is the role of the fathers and the mothers in the mix? Mrs. Blaine, I'm going to start with you. In
Yeah.
fact, the reference I looked at said, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. Are
Right.
we provoking these poor little darlings and little girls and little boys to wrath? What are we doing?
Well, look, Stokely, I agree with both Robert and Pastor Johnson. Robert talked about just the decline and breakdown in values and morals. And Pastor Johnson spoke about children being raised without the knowledge of God, knowing the love of God. So definitely those are some of the problems we're having. But this issue of violence against children, has been going on for a long time in this country. It's been a feature of Jamaican society. Regrettable to say that. We don't have any space on the children's monument downtown of children who have died violently and tragically in this country. So I just wanted to make this point. Violence does not fall out of the sky. It starts in early childhood, and it's usually a developmental process. And so, for us, if we're serious about fixing this understanding the problem and fixing it, we have to look at how children are being born, how they're being raised in families, and especially our boy children. And it's interesting, the boy children, as you know, are receive when you talk about corporal punishment in homes, boy children are usually typically punished more severely than girls. But while that is happening, what we also know is that boys are given more sexual freedom, leeways than girls. So we have a situation when you look at what's happening with the boys, and Pastor Johnson asked, who are these abusers? The abusers are mainly teenage boys and young men that are doing this. And so the question to be asked is, who exactly are they? Now, one of the things we're not doing in Jamaica is we're not properly studying, doing the psychiatric and psychological assessments and evaluation of these predators, these pedophiles, these people buggering little girls. Who exactly are they? We need to, many of them are incarcerated. Some of them are walking around scot-free, but wherever they are, we need to begin to find out about their backgrounds. Who is a pedophile? Who is a Jamaican pedophile? How could four teenagers and an adult male bugger a little girl, all five of them? It seems to me that these five men that are friends.
Just hearing it sounds so horrible. My God, it's really
Yeah,
disgraceful.
but Stokely, we're not going to understand it unless we understand who these young men are. We need to ask the question, we need to find out about their background. So deep studies have to be done. Who were they born to? Where them live? How did they develop this mindset to bugger a child? Five of them were friends. Did they discuss it before as friends? Did they agree that they would do this prior to doing this to this child? So all I'm saying is, look, we have a lot of work to do. And really and truly, the root problem is a breakdown in family life. And the fact that we have moved away from God, we're trying to move God out of the society. I was fed on a steady diet of Jesus Christ as a child. Every word that would come, most times my mother would be saying, Jesus, Jesus. We were fed on that. Now the children are fed instead on a steady diet of sex, of every kind of evil. They're exposed to social media, the dark side of social media, where everything that is abominable and evil are in their faces. So what do we expect, Stokely? We have a lot of work to do.
Mr. Williams,
Yeah, I'm
we're
still here.
on a break already, but sir, any comments? Because just hearing some of the things that Mrs. Blaine spoke about, it would hurt anybody's head. How does the CPFSA try to address some of the things that she just spoke about, sir?
Well, Miss Blaine has said so many things, and that she understands the issues very well. She's on the scene a long time. But you see, parenting, she touched on parenting, and she touched on parenting a bit. But for us at CPFSA, we realize that parenting is a big part of the issue. Yes, so unless you see parents, sometimes we talk about mothers and fathers, unless they realize that two persons have this child, two persons brought this child into the world, and it is our responsibility as parents to teach our children, to inculcate in these children what is morally accepted and so on, guide them through life. A lot of these children grow up on their own. Somebody alluded to it earlier. So the parental responsibility that we keep talking about.
That's so correct.
Okay, I thought it was breaking. The parenting responsibility that we keep talking about and has become cliche unless we understand what we're saying. Because if every parent take responsibility, these boys that we need to study, and I agree with Betty, perhaps would have been different individuals if parents were there to spend time to realize that there was something amiss with these children. There was something psychopathological about these children. There was something strange that they need help. If we had parents who spend more time talking, engaging, guiding, understanding their role, that it is my responsibility to take this child into adulthood and to ensure that this child becomes a worthwhile citizen. Too many parents have thrown up their hands in the air. They carry their children to CPF and say, I can't bother. I go and leave the child here. I can't bother with the problem. It's a responsibility. Unless parents start to take responsibility, we continue. So that's a part and parcel of the causation, the lack of proper and appropriate parenting skills and the responsibility of parents to stand up to this, because we have a culture where give the children to government, put them in children's home. That's not solving anything. It is our responsibility since the day they were born, even before, to spend the time to inculcate in the children values, the right attitude, and guide them through life.
Mr. Williams, we in fact are beyond the point of the break, but we're going to be right back on the morning watch. We're going to look at some solutions. We'll be right back.
This is Love 101, the family station. It's 13 minutes to 8 o'clock.
Engineers, architects, builders, students of the built environment. Here's your chance to contribute to national development. Submit your architectural designs for low cost, sustainable and climate resilient houses under the National Social Housing Program Design Competition. Download and complete a registration form from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation's website and submit individually or with your team by 4 p.m. on May 25. Email completed application forms to lowcosthousingdesign@megjc.gov.jm, and just like that, you could be on your way to competing for the grand prize of $1 million. For rules, regulations, and competition guidelines, visit megjc.gov.jm and opm.gov.jm. Tropical Race 4 disease, TR4, is a soil-borne disease that has the potential to wipe out the Jamaican banana and plantain crops. Farmers and visitors must disinfect shoes and tools before entering farms daily. If your banana or plantain crops seem to be wilting, call the Banana Board at 876-922-5490 or 876-922-4327. Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment.
Flow is connecting Jamaica to fiber-fast internet. Over 250 communities island-wide have received upgrades since last year, with many more to come. Flow is committed to giving more Jamaicans better internet access. And with over $40 billion invested, our network grows stronger each day. Visit a Flow store today or call 1-800-804-2994 to find out if you can upgrade to the fiber-fast experience on Jamaica's largest network.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We're in the second watch, and the topic for the main and the second watch today is protecting children from murder, rape, incest, and other crimes. And our guests continue to be, for both the first and the second watch, Robert Williams, Southeast Regional Director, Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, Pastor Dexter Johnson, National Director, Jamaica Youth for Christ, YFC, and Betty Ann Blaine, Hear the Children's Cry. Now, bearing in mind that a child is anyone who is just born, up to the age of 18, and even the child in the womb, but up to the age of 18, and bearing that in mind, and bearing in mind too that there are different things that children at different stages of development do need, but having regard to the fact that a lot of these children are being mistreated in all sorts of ways, some of which you probably don't even necessarily want to always say on air. What are some of the solutions that can be applied as of today, or even continue to be applied, or we can up the ante and in terms of using these solutions to address the problems that children are having? The girls and the boys, and I know that there are going to be different treatments and different ways to deal with the girls separate from the boys. But regardless, what are some of the solutions we can employ? I'm going to start with you, Mrs. Blaine, then Pastor Johnson, and then we're going to end with Mr. Williams. Mrs. Blaine?
Okay, so I would like to just second what Robert said about a solution, perhaps the biggest solution, and that is to find a way to reach out to parents. Because as I said, we have to pay attention to how these children are born and raised. When a mother can be egging on her little 7, 8-year-old, daggering a big woman in a community where everybody's cheering on the little boy, and the mother is cheering him on and say, "Go on, there, my boy." You see the problem. So we're going to have to find a way to reach these parents, particularly teenage parents, to and help them with raising children. The church has a big role to play in this regard. I think we need to also ensure that our laws are enforced. One of the things that concerns me over the years is you kind of don't get the feeling in the country that people are afraid of harming children. You kind of get that feeling that a man out there or a teenage boy can just molest a child and walk away scot-free. You don't get that feeling. There's some societies where you can't harm children, at all. And I'm not talking about totalitarian states. I'm talking about societies where children are never harmed like this. And so you don't get that feeling in Jamaica. It's 13 years this year since Ananda Dean was brutally murdered. And not one person has been charged for Ananda's murder. That can't happen. If you molest a child, if you abuse a child, if you murder a child, you must face our courts. And if you are guilty, you must be sent to prison for a long time. And I believe that we don't feel that in the society. The children tell you they're fearful because they don't feel it. And I just want to say quickly that I believe that we've been calling on the Prime Minister for this emergency child summit, that somebody like Robert Williams and Pastor Johnson should be in attendance for something like that. I think we need to, if we could find even 1 or 2 solutions that will work, that will change the picture in a big way, big way, then we would have succeeded. We're not talking about a talk show. And then finally, I believe that I'd like to ask the Prime Minister to make an address to the nation right now. I believe we're in a crisis when it comes on to the abuse of children right now. And I believe the Prime Minister should speak to the country and should say, we're declaring zero tolerance for abuse against children. Because, Stokeley, sometimes when you speak, your words are powerful. They're powerful. And he needs to now decree that we will no longer tolerate it in this country. And if you abuse a child, the investigations are going to be swift, the punishment will be severe, and we are going to protect our children.
Indeed. Mr. Johnson, Pastor Johnson, any comment? Pastor Dexter Johnson, I hope you haven't lost you.
Definitely. I'm supporting. I'm supporting Betty Ann in a big way, that the overall responsibility that we have together as a nation, from Parliament right down to that little home that little one room, that child. Is that together, as we talk about parents, that we have to get back to the place where mother and father matters, that they were there in the home. That else, what do we have? We still have a society, but that is merely headed, most homes are headed by a single mother, a mother who is working, going non-stop. So that child is left to grow with the television, with social media.
Yes, and often left alone for long periods of time.
Yeah, and some guardian that doesn't care, really, and some guardian that become the abuser. And we have to watch that. Too many of our children, my own spirit hurt. I watch some little clips with children, and I don't know how adults find it cute to have these little children doing these staggering, whining and what, and I see them get out, and my heart cry. I remember that little child that they had smoking, and somebody felt it was okay. We have to make example out of these people to say it's wrong. But we have, I see, a twofold responsibility. We have to get to teenagers now. We have to help them way before they become parents and say, listen, you need to be prepared to have a child before you get one. That children are no longer your pension plan, so you just have as much as you need. We have to rescue the next generation and the one now. So we have to fix what we have, and it's all of us on board. So the church must be adamant that children must be protected and we must watch them. We have to hold parents responsible in a big way because they are the first God-given guardian over that child, you know, and we have to hold them responsible. And so often they are children themselves, and we have to pull onto that, and we have to ensure that when we put them in state care, they are not abused. They are not the next victims. State care is to help to make them better. So we have to find the right person, the right personnel, people who really love and care and will watch over, you know, that mother that raised you and raised 20, 30 children, but was never a biological mother, but make the difference in life. Can we get back there? Can we find enough people in the village that we can trust that is going to help us get through?
I want to ask a specific. I want to raise a specific point with you, Pastor Johnson, before bringing Mr. Williams to close. Pastor Johnson, as the director of Youth for Christ, and as a pastor yourself, how do you think the church, we know that we're in a situation with all these restrictions, but how do you think the church can use Sunday school to help to bring more children into the faith? Hopefully, if they don't stay in the faith or they don't really become Christians, it will have a difference in terms of their moral values. So you think Sunday school can be revitalized now in 2021 to do that?
You trouble my spirit, Sir Marshall, and I tell you why. Because as a pastor and a youth leader, what I'm at pain is that even Christian parents no longer will stay back to ensure that their children stay in Sunday school. They have so much on their agenda.
Pastor Johnson, because we have to bring in Mr. Williams. So that would be another topic for discussion on the Morning Watch. Thank you for that, Pastor Johnson. Mr. Williams, any final words before we wrap today?
Of course, for solution, I endorse what Pastor Johnson and Betty and Blaine has said. But I want to go back. I want to give 3 points. One, the parental responsibility. I see a trend, and we are seeing a trend. You see, these young boys that Betty and Blaine spoke about, what I am seeing on that court list every day, this grievous sexual assault. And when we look into it, a lot of young boys are hooked on pornography. Where are their parents? Who is giving them? You see, people just give everybody tablets and we just give everybody phones, and they are just feasting on pornography. And when they are finished, they look for young children. They look for very young children who they can manipulate to practice on what they have watched. That we need to know how to curtail. We have to find how we do that. And I say that is parental responsibility as well. Now, education, public education must be a part of the solution. Ms. Blaine alluded to it. We have to give the message. We have to get it out there. We have to say it until we believe it. We have to say it until we start to hear it into the hinterlands and every part of Jamaica, on the radio, on the TV. This is what we want of our society. This is what we want of our children. We have to get that public education going until we believe it. It gets into our psyche and we start to act based on what we are hearing. I think community intervention is also another solution. CPFSA has been going into community. We used to have walkthroughs, now we have been dragged through because of the pandemic. But when we go into the communities and we see what is happening, sometimes, I tell you, it is sometimes more than what we can handle at any one point. But I'm saying, in these communities, this is where the things happen. And if we have groups coming together and we go into these communities, however we do it, we're talking about solution, we go into these communities and we stay there for a while and do some form of reform and intervention with the young children, the parents, because I tell you, time is up.
But we should have 5 or 10 more minutes, but I'm getting a signal. We may need to bring it back. Okay. I want to thank all of you for being with us on the Morning Watch this morning. Mrs. Blaine, Pastor Johnson, and Mr. Williams. And for information on how to get copies of the program, please call our production department, 876-968-95967. The Morning Watch is on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to us, the family station. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. Join us again tomorrow, of course, as we look at those topical and controversial issues. I am Stokeley Marshall, and get back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
Big thank you for listening to the Morning Watch, brought to you today by Home and Things, your construction finishes store.
Everyday living, we make it worthwhile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! From kitchen to bathroom, a whole heap of tile. Home and Things for everyday living. Nice up your home, fix up every room. Shop every day, shop real value. Fixtures and faucets to catch your eye. We have the options, we have the style. Everyday living, so versatile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! Lowest price guarantee on everything you see. Home and Things for everyday living.